You want to start at the beginning? All right. Yeah, the first one says they purchased a machine on January. Oh, this is the quiz for summer 2013. I'm recording here. Anyway, purchased a machine on January 1st, 2012 by paying cash for $330,000. The machine has an estimated useful life of 4 years, production life of 600,000 units. That's our estimate, right? And an estimated residual of 30. So the depreciable value is going to be how much? 30 less 30, right? Yeah. It wants straight line and then declining balance, and then it wants to know for different methods what the balances would be. So I indicated I might do something like this in class today, didn't I? Let's do the. Unfortunately, it's a 4-year life because I think in one class I used that as an example, but anyway. Yeah, the other class I did 5, but it doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and do it, but let's do all 4 methods in case I ask you. Okay, so let's do straight line. Oh, screen's not on. I turned it off. It's flashing. Oh. Hope it wasn't set like that all day. It might have been. The sound was all the way off. Good thing we logged time. Better check this again.
Is residual value and salvage value the same?
Yes, exactly the same thing. Listen to this device level. I think I had this on all the way, but I might not have the other thing. It's just too many controls to do exactly the same. Anyway, hopefully this will record. Got the volume up all the way. Right. Somebody turn it off. All right, so on number 1 then, let's figure out what a straight line would look like. What some of the year's digits would look like. And is this double declining balance? Or this is 150%, so that's something different. 150% declining balance would look like. And then let's do units of production. So that's all the things I could ask you about, right, guys? Okay. So we're going to do years 1, 2, 3, 4 for all of those. Let's get ourselves a little bit organized, I guess. And under some of the year's digits, then, under each of them, we are going to have depreciation expense, right? And then we'll get accumulated depreciation. Sound good? And then we'll get book value. So those are the only things I could possibly ask you about. Okay? So there's some of the year's digits, and we'll do exactly the same thing. Why not? Year 1, 2, 3, 4. Depreciation expense. Accumulated depreciation. Book value. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing for units of production, maybe? I don't know. I did something. Okay, then depreciation expense. Okay, so if you set yourself up like this and just crank through them, that's not how much I asked for. I bet you could do these. Wait a minute, I put straight line to set some of your digits together, didn't I? Sorry. Something like that. Here. Depreciation expense. Depreciation. Book value. Okay, so we'll do 4 columns. Here's the present. Okay, do the same thing here. So, why don't you give this a shot? See what you can get. Set yourself up like that, and we just put the numbers in there. Okay? So how would you do it in a straight line? You know what the cost is, you know what the salvage value is, you know what the depreciable value is, depreciate over 4 years, huh? So do the first, do straight line, we'll make sure everybody's got the same thing, and then we'll try some of these digits. Nice little exercise. Those are going real fast.
Quick question. So we take the book value for straight line, we take that book value, then do we minus it by 70, like by the expense to find the 2013 expense?
For straight line, you just take the depreciable value.
Yep.
So it's 330 less 30, right? So you have 300.
Yep.
Divide the 300 by the number of years, 4. You get 75,000.
Yep.
So what would be your journal entry each year? Debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation. This is depreciation expense. That's accumulated depreciation, right?
Right.
Okay. And then the book value is going to be the original cost less.
Right. So, but then how do we find the expense for 2013?
It's the same every year, straight line.
Oh, the expense is the same?
Sure.
Oh.
Straight line is the same every time. So that's going to be easy, right?
Oh.
Debit depreciation expense is the same every year. But then what's going to be an accumulated depreciation? Remember, you close depreciation expense.
Right. Oh, okay.
Okay. So at the end of the second year, you'll have 50. What would be your remaining salvage or remaining book value?
I'm going to have to do 330 minus 150.
50. Yeah. I write on there accumulated depreciation. This is depreciation expense. This is accumulated depreciation.
Okay.
Right? They're both depreciation.
Got it.
Right? But
Yep.
one's depreciation expense, the other is accumulated depreciation. That contract. You guys get the first one done? Nothing to it, huh? And I'll probably give you stuff like that. I might ask you for the journal entry. Big deal. Debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation, right? You just gotta know what the amount is. Okay?
Okay, but then when you do get the journal expense, or the journal entry, is it, you debit this?
Debit the 75,000 is depreciation expense and credit accumulated depreciation was 75. And what we're showing here is how much we're adding into the
Okay,
depreciation.
so
the journal entry is just this.
the journal entry for straight line then doesn't really change.
No, it's the same every year,
Okay.
which is really nice. So your journal, what you did was you put 75,000 here, right? So that makes accumulated depreciation 75,000. Why does that happen? You debited depreciation expense to the 75, right, guys? And you credit accumulated depreciation for the 75,000. Is that true? Okay. Everybody's good. And you can do that every year. So what's my book value? It's going to be, the cost was how much? For all of them, the cost was 330. And the salvage value or residual value is 30. So you subtract that. And so your depreciable value was 300. This is just not a big deal once you see it, okay? So every year I'm going to debit depreciation expense and credit accumulated depreciation for 75. So remember I closed the depreciation expense account, right? I don't close accumulated depreciation, so I'm accumulating more, right? So the next year, this will be 75, but that's going to make the credit accumulated depreciation 150. Oh, I didn't do book value, did I? 75 away from 330 was how much? 255 on the first one, right? You can walk right through this. And then 150 away from 330 is 180, is that right? And you can see that the 255 book value was reduced by the 75 you just depreciated. So you do it that way too, 255 less 75 is 180, right? And then the next year, the same thing, 75,000, okay? And then that's going to give me 225, right? 150 plus 225 is going to be an accumulated depreciation. All three of you staying with me, right? It's making sense. Okay, 225 away from 330 is what? 105. We took 75 away from it, right? Book value is 105. Okay, and then the next year we'll do 75 again. Debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation, and what does that do for us? Going to give us 300, which is going to give us what kind of a book value? Which is the salvage value. Book. We got it. Okay, so do some of the year's digits. All you're going to do is reverse, flip them upside down. Calculate the depreciation, right? And it's still going to be debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation. It's just going to be for a different amount every year. Make sense? So if I ask for the journal entry for the third year or the fourth year, big deal, you don't care. Let me move you something. Okay. That'll take you 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Everybody got it? Doing the next one. Let's go ahead and do some of the year's digits. What'd you do? It took the numbers, right? Put them upside down. 4, 3, 2, 1. If it was 5 years, it'd be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got the idea? Then you add them all up. They total up to 10, don't they? So this is going to be 10 tenths. First year we do 4 tenths. Second year 3 tenths. Third year 2 tenths. Fourth year 1 tenth, right? That adds up to 10 tenths, of course. Again, if it was 5 years, it'd be 15 fifteenths. Okay? All right. So what's the depreciation expense going to be? It is going to be that 300,000 depreciable value times 40% for the first one, right? So how much is that? 120. Debit what? Depreciation expense. Credit what? Accumulated depreciation. Yeah, it's always going to be that. What's accumulated depreciation going to be after you do that? 120. What's the book value going to be? 330 less 120. You're right there, guys. This is a good use of your time, and just get a little more solid, a little more solid. So you just whiz right through it. Just relax and do it. The next one is 30% of the 300, right? Why are we using the 300? Because we're going to depreciate 100% of it, right? That's why we use the 300 to get to the straight line, too, because we're depreciating 100% of it. That's all. Okay, so what's 30% of 300? Debit. Depreciation expense. Credit. Accumulated depreciation. What do I have in accumulated depreciation now? 210. What do I have left then in book value? 90 left. 120. Right? You can see that's an accelerated method, right? It's more depreciation than the straight line was. See why they call it accelerated? You get more depreciation in early years. Okay, and then the third one? 60, right, guys? 20%. Debit. Depreciation expense. Credit. Accumulated depreciation. What do we have for accumulated depreciation now? 270, excellent. And what's left? 60. Okay? 270 weighted 330, 60. Or 120 less than 60. Okay? And then the last one? 1/10 is 30. Debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation. What do you have? 300 and 30. And we're going to stop, right? Because that was our salvage or residual value. Right, guys? Okay, until we dispose of it. All right, have you done the 150 yet? Are you working on it? Go ahead and finish. Go ahead and finish. Get it right. Get it right. And then I'll make up some values for the units of production you need to have for actual production. Maybe I'll write some down. I only gave you one, but you only need one. It's 2014, which is the third year. There's the units if you get done with the declining balance. Here's my units, okay, for each year. 180, 170, 160, 150. So now you can do that too, okay? One-fourth would be, okay, one-fourth would be 25%, yeah, and then times what? 1.5 is 150. That's exactly right. Now that's going to be the remaining book value. Okay. Well, we're always leaving part of it. We're only taking 37.5% this time, so 62.5% of whatever it is left, right? Okay. So what we do is we use the full 330,000 costs. If you only use the 300, you'll never get down to the 30 because you're always taking a portion of what's left. So we'll start with the 330 and go down until we hit 30 remaining book value.
But how do you calculate the...
Oh, it's, what would straight line be? 1/4, right? So 25%. And this is 150% declining balance, so 1.5 times it, that's all it is.
1.5 times 25%.
Yeah, 37.5%.
Oh, okay.
So it's 150% of 25%, right?
Okay.
1.5.
That.
That's it. And if it's double declining, it'd be 2 times it. If it's 125%, it'd be 1.25 times it, whatever it is. You're there.
Will it always tell you the acceleration rate?
If I don't tell you, you can't work it. Yeah.
Okay, so does this one, the net book value times 2 over the life equals expense?
Well, that's if it's 200%.
Oh.
This is right. This is not double. So what you're going to do, it's like this. You are going to take 1/4, because it's a 4-year life,
Got it.
and take that times 1.5. So it's easier probably to convert it to a percentage. That's 25% times 1.5, which is 150%. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's going to give me what? 37.5%. So it's that way. What if it was a 5-year life, guys? What would you do? 1/5 would be 20% times 1.5 would be 30%. Got it? Okay? Good. And I'll have to tell you that I have to tell you the 150 or 200 or 125 or 175 or whatever I use. Okay? If I say double declining, that's 200, right? We know doubles 100%. What's funny too is you start working on something that's hard and you forget what you know from just living life. So.
And then you take the original cost times that 37.5%.
You got it. The first year. Because what's the beginning book value? The beginning book value is what we paid for it, $330,000, right? So I'm going to do the $330,000 to start. And I'm going to take that times 37.5% the first year. Then after my depreciation entry, I compute my new book value. It's going to be less, right?
Yeah.
And you take that times 37.5, and you keep going. That's why they call it declining balance. Because the book value is declining. Okay. Then do the next year, do all 4 of them. And you'll stop when you get to 30 or at the end of 4 years, whichever comes first. But the water's high in the creek and muddy. You getting there? Need a bigger calculator.
I know. I had one. My sister took it.
Oh.
She's in like a high school math class, and I have to have like a specific calculator.
Did she rip you off?
Yeah. I remember when I got this one, they were like, "Oh yeah, like you'll need it in college. Like it will be so much cheaper to like get it now. Like this thing like was a nice chunk of change."
Yeah, that's
And literally, if I got to a regular calculator, it's fine.
Yeah. Give you parameter by him.
I know, right?
Yeah. Shorter than.
I know. She feels sorry
If
for
my
me.
grandkids showed me that, I would say,
I
I don't
think
have
it's my
a nice,
phone too, but I have the
Yeah.
quiz pulled up, so I don't want to keep having to switch.
I don't have a nice calculator because I don't care because I already use a computer, right? You know, I use Excel all really have a nice calculator. I use my phone too. It's sad. But if it was my grandkid, oh shoot, no problem. That's your grandma. Make sure you have present values, future values, and present value of annuity, future value of annuity. That's all you need, though. You don't need more than that. No.
Do we need to have the formula memorized?
No. 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 We're going to use, you can use your calculator, right? Yours will do it. And you can use the tables as well.
Okay. So we should bring our books today.
Oh, I would.
And the test also physically.
Yeah. And both. And the final. Yeah, we use tables. Actually, in real life, we use Excel. Or a calculator if you don't have Excel with you. But the tables are kind of nice because you can see what's happening. You guys ready? What's the first one? 330 times 37.5%, right, guys? You just take 37.5% of 330. How much is that? Oh man, it's already a weird number. Okay. Debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation, right? You don't care what the number is, it's the same entry. Okay, accumulated depreciation, 123,750, right? Book value, 330 less 123,750. You guys agree with that? How much is that? 206,250. Now, you're doing the next year. That's the book value at the beginning of the year. What do? Take 37.5% of it. That's all there is to it. Okay? So what's 37.5% of 206,250? Yeah, we'll round to even dollars. Okay, debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation, right? So now what do you have in accumulated depreciation? Well, it's 123,750 plus 77,343, right? How much is that?
201,093.
So what's the remaining book value? 330,000 cost less 201,093, right? How much is that?
128,906.25.
Yeah. Okay, and we don't have to worry about the pennies. And the computer wouldn't care. But, all right, then what do you do year 3, of course? 37.5% of that. Now we want to be careful. We want to stop when we get to 30, right? Okay, we're not anywhere near, are we?
In the second year, did you take 37.5% of that 123,750?
Oh, wait a minute.
Because that's not what I got.
It was, 206 times 206, this number.
206.
That's
Okay,
37.
that's why.
It's the book value, not the
And
accumulated
that's got
depreciation.
I'm not confused. That's why you said that. Makes sense.
All right.
Okay.
Because we're always taking
The remaining value.
the remaining book
Right.
value. Yeah, okay, there you go. All right. 128,906 times 37.5%. What's that?
48. 339.
339? Debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation. Now what do you have in there in accumulated depreciation? 201,093 plus 48,339, right?
249,433.
Excellent. Take that away from 330. What do you have left? 80 what? 80566. Okay? 80,566. Take that times 37.5. Now we want to stop at 30, but we're not going to get there, are we? So in this case, the salvage value wouldn't matter with it. It's going to force you to have the salvage value that's left at the end of the 4 years. And usually with this method, you don't have a salvage value anyway. You just use whatever's left at the end. Make sense? The example I used in class went the other way, didn't it? The salvage value was bigger than it ended up being at the end. So, okay. So what's 8566?
Would you ever, like, using this method, if you really wanted to use the salvage value, just add one line like every use to your life, or would you just cut it off?
No, you just cut it off.
Okay.
You stop at the last. But you could set the salvage value higher
Okay.
and stop when you get to the salvage value. That could happen, right? Okay, so what's 8566 times 37.5%? 30,30212. Okay, and then what's the accumulated depreciation after you do that? And what's the remaining book value? 355? What's it gonna be forever until we sell the asset? 50,355, because we're not gonna depreciate when we're done, okay? All right, let's do units of production. I made up some units of production. The only one we gave you in the problem was the 160, so it's gonna be really simple to calculate it for the problem. But here's 180, 170, 160, and 150. Do that. Okay, what would that look like? And how many units was that supposed to be, by the way, for the 300,000 we're going to depreciate? Yeah. So our estimate in total was 600,000, right? Whatever they're producing, units. It just says units, doesn't it? And then here's my actual units, okay? So go ahead and do it. By the way, I think it's great you guys are here the week before a break. Got a real nice sign.
Is depreciated value and book value interchangeable?
Depreciable value?
Like after, when you subtract the salvage value from the cost?
But it's for the first year.
No, the depreciable value is not the same. No, at the end, the amount you're going to depreciate is the depreciable value, right?
Okay, yeah.
But that,
It depends on the one that you're using.
where did you see it's the same?
Well, I watched a video earlier and the one for units of production had it as the book value rather than the depreciated value. But it says it.
Oh, no, I did it wrong. If I wrote down cost less salvage value, call it book value, that's wrong.
Okay.
Book, that's just a mistake. I wrote it down wrong.
Okay.
What book value is the cost less the accumulated depreciation.
Okay.
For each one of these, we're taking the original cost less the accumulated depreciation gives me the book value.
Okay.
For every single one all the way through.
Okay.
That's what that is. I apologize for that. Yeah. So this going pretty good? What is it per unit anyway? Yeah, you got 600,000 divided into 300,000, right? Remember, you're going to do just the 300. Why? Not the 330. Because I'm depreciating 100% of it over those 600 units, right? 600,000. So yeah, 600 into 300 is 50 cents per unit. Now it's easy, isn't it? The units times 50 cents is it for each one of the years. So you know what the depreciation expense is? Really fast, don't you?
And with the book value for the units of production, do you start off with the 330 or just the 330?
Always. Your book value, it's what you're going to put on your balance sheet. You're going to put the equipment on your balance sheet at 330, right? And you're going to put your accumulated depreciation at whatever balance it is. So the book value is always the difference between those two, right? It doesn't matter whether you're basing your depreciation on the 330 as with declining balance or on the 300 with the other ones. That's just because all the methods except declining balance are going to depreciate 100% of it. So you have to take the salvage value out first. That's just mechanics. It doesn't change the disclosure at all. Okay. Gotta take close on this.
Okay, so for the book value the depreciation was 330, and the book value, you minus from 330, so.
Well, the cost is 330. The cost is 330, right?
Yeah.
Original cost is 330.
Yes.
And then you're going to subtract from that the accumulated depreciation to get the book value.
Right, so but can your book value be 0?
It can, but then you've depreciated too far because you want to stop when you get down to the 30. So you want to stop when you get to the 30, and what's hanging you up here is they produce more units than they estimated they produce, huh? As soon as you produce 600,000, You're done. So don't depreciate any more than that. You're going to stop at that point. So you know you would not go to zero. You'd stop at 30,000. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Is that making sense? Let's give this a try. What is it for the first one? 50 cents each. What do you think? It's going to be 90. So let's just do all of them, huh? This is 90. What's the second one? 85. They use a little bit less each time. I don't know why. 80, the third year. That's what was in the problem. Whoops, it's not dollars. Yes, it is. Sorry. 80,000 debit depreciation expense. And then the 150 units would be 75, right? What's happening to your accumulated depreciation? You start with what? Nothing. Debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation, and what do you have? 90,000. What's the remaining book value? 90 away from 330, right? It's 240. Good. It's easy. Okay, the next one? Yeah, it gets added, doesn't it? 85 gets added to 90 is 175. The 240 less the 85, right? Or 175 away from 330. Either way you want to do it. How much is that?
155.
Good. Then 80, what do we get?
255.
Okay, take that away from 330, and what do you have? Okay, now I'd start getting careful at this point, wouldn't you? I'm going down too low. I've got to stop when I get to the 30 salvage value. So is it okay to use this 75? Nope. What am I going to do instead? I'm only going to do 45 because it's going to stop at 30. You got it. Debit depreciation expense. Credit accumulated depreciation. What do I have for accumulated depreciation? 300,000. And what does that leave me for book value? 30, and I'm done. I stop. And that answered your question too, didn't it? Right? We cannot use more than 600,000 units. And this was more, wasn't it? Right? So the last year had to be just 90,000 units. Okay? That was a coincidence, by the way, that it went to exactly zero.
That was weird.
Yeah, because I had 660,000 units.
The last one were like a bunch of weird numbers, and this one worked out perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so how would you answer these? Number one, straight line depreciation. 75,000 in all four spots. If you know what you're doing, this is a joke. Declining balance was 150. What are you going to do in those? That's for expense. 123, 750, 77, 343, 48, 339, and 30,212. Am I right? Those are the answers. You just write them down. So the first part of this problem is easy. The second part, a pain. You know, to calculate. What is the book value of the machine after 3 years with declining balance then? After 3 years, what was it? 80, 566, that's what it was, wasn't it? There you go. What is accumulated depreciation after 2 years, straight line? Up at 150. Right? It is, isn't it?
Yep.
If the machine was used to produce and sell 160 in 2014, what would the depreciation expense be? 80. We calculated it, didn't we? So I wouldn't do the units of production method, would you? I wouldn't write all this stuff down unless I had to. I'd do whatever I needed to, right? But if you can write it all down, you can certainly answer these questions, right? And this one you could just take 160 times 50 cents, you got 80 and you're done, right? You don't have to do all that stuff. What's the book value of the machine after 1 year with the 7 years digits now? 210. Yeah. You could answer all those. Okay.
So, for units of production, if we hadn't have written that entire thing down, we could have just figured, like, we wouldn't need to write.
I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
I'd take 160 times 50 cents and be done.
And in most cases, we won't need to do all of them.
Yeah. With straight line, I guess I would have done the first 2 years, huh?
Yeah.
Or I'd just say it's 75,000 a year, it's 150, you know, and I'm done, right? Here I just do the first year, right? And you?
Yeah.
And you know, but to get that 4/10, you got to know what you're doing,
Right.
right? And then here, I guess I'd have to do 3 years, and here I'd just do that one little multiplication.
Okay.
But if you know how to do all this, you can do any of it. And if you can't figure out how to go a direct route to it, just do the whole schedule. Who cares, right? You practice this a little bit, this will be really fast. and get yourself a real calculator. Yeah, that was fine. Then Corporation sold a piece of equipment on June 30th for $55,000 cash. Equipment had been purchased on January 1st, 2009 for $200,000. Had an estimated life of 6 years at $20,000 residual. They used straight line depreciation a year and it's December 31st. This is hard, only because they sold it mid-year. So what do you have to do if they sold it at some date other than the last day of the year? Depreciate it up to that point. So what we have to do here first is figure out how much book value would be at the end of the year. And then I'm going to record a journal entry. What's the journal entry on disposal? By the way, what's the journal entry going to be on the disposal? Let's get started with it. We get some points right away. What would we do? Yeah, you're going to sell it. But what's your debits and credits going to be? The accounts. Debit cash. You know what? You already got a point probably. Or well, this was 3, so half. Debit cash what? $55,000. They bought this asset for $200,000. It is a piece of equipment. What account is it in? How about equipment? You got rid of it. What do you want to take it out of? Equipment. It's an asset. You credit it. Look at that. We probably got a point by now, and we haven't even done anything yet. Right? What else is there going to be? I'm going to have depreciated this thing. What am I going to debit? Accumulated depreciation. Absolutely. And then I'm going to have either a something or a something. Gain or loss. Depending on what the book value is when I sold it. Right, guys? Okay, but before I do this, still have room, I guess. Before I do this, I need to depreciate it for 6 months, and that's the trick. Okay? So let's find out what's in the accounts. Equipment has what in it? 200,000. So that's how I know I'm going to credit equipment for 200. What does accumulated depreciation have in it? That's the piece I need. What's going to be an accumulated depreciation? What do they say? A 6-year life of 20,000 salvage, and they're using what method? Straight line. Oh, I love it. Right? Cost is 200,000. Salvage or residual value is 20. Is that right?
Yes.
Book value or depreciable value. Try to do it again, all right? And depreciable value. 180. Life. Yeah. You get to be a machine on this stuff, you guys. It's going to be 30,000 a year, isn't it? Right? Debit depreciation expense. Credit accumulated depreciation every year for 30,000. True? And it says they bought it the first day of the year, so we don't have to worry about a part year then. Right? Bought it on January 1st. All right. How many years are you going to buy? 2009, 10, 11, 12. 9, 10, 11, 12. So we got 4 years so far. So what's the balance going to be in accumulated depreciation if you put 30 in there 4 times? 120. You guys agree with that? So that's before I do journal entries for this year. You guys agree? But because I sold this thing mid-year, I need to depreciate half a year. It's half the year, isn't it? To June 30th, however many months it is. It happened to be 6 months. So depreciation for a year would be 30. What's for half a year? 15. So I'm going to have 135,000 in this account, aren't I? But how do I get it there? I got to get the 15 in first. So credit accumulated depreciation for the half year for 15,000, right? That's going to reduce my gain or increase my loss, right? Because I'm making the book value less. Let's say that, right?
No, where should get the
Actually, go the other way around. Where did I get what?
120 in depreciation?
Oh, it's 4 years. 30,000 a year for 4 years.
Oh, okay.
I would debit depreciation expense for 20 or 30 rather, and credit accumulated depreciation for 30,
Okay.
and I do that 4 times across the 4 years.
Got it.
That's 120. And now I'm doing 15 more for this year, right, guys? So I got 4.5 years in there now. So this would be debit depreciation expense. So this was the hard part. You had to get this entry in order to get the other one. Okay? That one really comes first. Yes, ma'am.
I thought with single line you stopped depreciating after 4 years.
It depends on the.
Oh no, it depends on life. This is 6 years.
Oh, 6.
See, it's got 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a 6-year life. Whatever the life is. Okay, yeah. Just my examples before. Okay. All right. Don't get stuck on that. Real trouble. So how much is in accumulated depreciation now? 135, right? 200 is the equipment. So what's the book value of this thing? 65. What do we sell it for? What happened to it? We have a loss of 10. Right? We do, don't we? Okay, so debit accumulated depreciation for 135. True? I got rid of this, and I got rid of the equipment. True? Gone now. Okay? And I'm going to have a loss on sale. And this was a tough one, but you could do it, couldn't you? How much is it? 10? 65 book value. They sold it for 55. What if they sold it for more than 65? It'd be a gain. You have to be a creditor, right? So can you do something like that? Do you see it? It's a pretty tough one. I bet you see it on either a quiz test or final, something like that. Okay? All right, let's go on to 3 then. Actually, we increased the accumulated depreciation, which reduced the book value, so it made the loss smaller, right? So that more depreciation, there's less loss. But there's a gain and make the gain bigger. Okay. Give the required adjusting entry at December 31st, 2012, the end of the annual accounting period for the 2 items below. No interest required. Explain why. Whole company acquired a patent. This is an intangible asset, right? Read about the above. 8,000. The patent was registered on January 1st, 2006. It has a legal life of 20 years from registration. So I bought it 6 years into its life, it looks like, right? 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, 5 years into its life. 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. I like 11. 6 years. It is 6. 12 less 6. 12 less 6. It's got to be 6. Okay, 6 years. So how many years are left? 14. So you're going to amortize your cost of the patent over your life, not the whole life of the thing. 6 years are already gone. You can only use it for 14 years, right? And then the patent expires and other people can produce a product. You have the patent. Okay? So what they would have done is they would have debited patents for 8,000, and assuming they paid cash, they credit cash, right? Probably did. So then every year, what would they do? And they bought it the first day of the year, so they got a whole year. January 1st, December 31st. I'm going to amortize it. Over how many years? 14 or less. No kidding. It's just straight line. What's 14 into 8,000? That's all you got to do. How much is it? 43. Yeah, or 571, good enough. Okay. So what would we do? Debit amortization expense. Instead of depreciation, it's called amortization. It works exactly the same. Okay? 571, you got it. 43. It's an intangible asset. That's how we do it. Credit what? Patents. Usually we go straight to the patent. If you want, though, you can credit accumulated amortization of the patent, which would be just like accumulated depreciation. It would be a contra account that goes with the patent. So you take the 8,000 patent less the accumulated amortization, and then give you your net patent. Make sense? This way, I'm actually reducing the patent because I use it up. It's more common. People do it that way. We do the same thing with leasehold improvements. That's where I lease a building and I put new fixtures in it. You know, like at the mall, you open a new store, all they really bought was a big gray box, right? Real dark, right? Lights in there, right? And it's just a gray box, concrete box, and they put everything. That's all called leasehold improvements. And you would amortize that over how long? The period of your lease, not how long the building's going to last. You know, the building's going to last 40 years, 50 years. Your lease is going to be for 5 years. You'd amortize it for 5 years, right? Okay, got it? Good. It's not going to be any use to you when you're done. You could leave it there. Okay? All right, somebody's going to tear it out and put in your own stuff. Okay, good. So there's one of them.
Would you need to do the amortization expense to answer this question? If it's
the life of the patent is 20 years from registration, and they expect to use it for the rest of its legal life.
Yeah, you have to take because 6 years are gone.
Oh, okay, so you're just,
2006 to 2012, that's why I counted the 6 years.
okay, so you're just, that's.
So it's 20 years, so
Every year.
if you bought the patent at the beginning of it, you'd spread it over 20 years.
Right.
But there's only 14 years left.
Okay.
That's why we did that. 8,000 divided by 14. Okay, whatever life is left. I do it. Cool. On B, whole company acquired a gravel pit, so this is natural resources. What they really want is the gravel, not the hole in the ground, right? They're going to give them back the land, okay? I used to live on a gravel pit, or no, it was a coal mine. I used to live on a coal mine. It was a coal mine in Terre Haute, Indiana. It was way up in the, well, way up. It was out in the country a bit. And they had dug a pit mine, and then it filled with water. So when the kids would swim in it, they get a little bit of black coal dust on them. Just a little, and you'd shower. But anyway, and we had a little paddle boat. It was just beautiful. So it was completely full of water, and there were trees all the way around it that had grown in. So we had lakefront, but it was really an old coal mine. It was really funny. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So what they do is they take the gravel out. As they take the gravel out, they don't have an asset anymore. It's gone. So believe it or not, when they bought this thing, what they would probably, oh, by the way, you don't have to do this journal entry. You didn't have to do the past. It just told you that's what was done, right? This is the answer here, those two, okay? On this one, it cost $30,000. They bought it January 1st, right? So again, we're January 1st. And what they did was they debited gravel pit. No kidding. Gravel pit or gravel, right? Doesn't matter. For $30,000. So they paid for this thing, okay? And credit cash, probably. Maybe accounts payable, doesn't matter. Okay? But it's recorded anyway. Now what are you going to do? Figure out how much you used during the year, or month, or whatever period you're doing a financial statement for, and figure out how much you should expense of it. That's it. So what do we got? 90,000 tons? Oh, $30,000, 90,000 tons. What is it per ton? $100. This is just like units of production. Okay? Straight line, really. So what is that? 33 cents a ton? 33 and a third. Each ton that they pull out is 33 cents. So if they took out 10,000 tons, what is it? 33 cents. Yeah, okay, that's what they do. All right, and or what you could say is, well, it's 1/9, so 1/9 of 30. I think give you the same number. Okay. All right, and what we're going to do is debit what? Well, this is kind of an interesting one. If I am keeping the gravel, it'd be an inventory of gravel. Does that make sense? I have it in a big pile, right? I'm going to sell it later. And that would be for $3,333 and credit gravel pit. We would not use accumulated depletion here probably either. But you could if you wanted. Just like with the accumulated amortization up above for the patent. You could if you wanted to do that. Okay, now, if you're selling it to somebody right now, though, what would it be? Cost of goods sold. Right? Instead of inventory, because you shipped it directly to the customer. That makes sense? You'd have a sale, you'd have cost of goods sold. It gets worse. What if I'm using it myself? I'm building roads. It might, or maintaining roads. It might be depletion expense. And here's the neat thing about this problem. I would have to accept any of those three because I didn't say what they did. Well, I take it back. It was extracted and sold. It really should be cost of goods sold. But anyway, I just take all three. Yes, absolutely. Depletion, expense, inventory. Yeah, depletion. Okay, good. So Saddle Corp purchased equipment to be used in manufacturing. That's my number 4. Purchased equipment to use in manufacturing. The purchase was made at the beginning of 2009. They paid cash of $210. That's their cost. Estimated residual is 10. What's their that's salvage or residual value? useful life is 10 years, so what would we do? Cost is 210, and it's equipment, so it's in an equipment account. Salvage or residual value is 10. Depreciable value. Okay, so 10-year life, they're using straight line depreciation, okay? So what would you do? Life into the 200,000 for 10 years is what? Depreciation expense, right? Okay, good. And then it says at the beginning of 2012, so how many years have gone by? Beginning of 2009 to beginning of 12. 9, 10, 11, 3 years have gone by? So what do they have in equipment? 210, of course, right? What do they have in accumulated depreciation? 60. Does everybody agree to that? 3 years at 20, right? They're full years. Okay? All right. And then it says it's going to last 7 years instead of 10. Oh, so how many years are left? We've used how many? This is 3 years. It was 10 years, but now it's going to be 7, right? So how many more years do we have? 4 more years. Excellent. So what you do is you figure out where you're at right now. Where are we? Equipment is 210. Accumulated depreciation was how much? 60, right? So what's the remaining book value right now? 150? You guys agree? What's the salvage going to be? Residual or salvage? What does it say in the problem? Salvage value or residual value? What is it? Careful. It'll last 7 years and it's going to be 0. Oh, I'm going to depreciate the whole 150, aren't I? That's left. So my new depreciable value for the time that's left is 150, and I'm going to divide that by what? 4 years. Got it. So how much is that? 37,500. I guess I should have put 60,000 in here. It's going to be debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation every year for 37.5, huh? Right? So it says make the journal entry record depreciation for 2009. Wait a minute, that's the first year. So in year 1, 2009, what am I going to do? It was how much the first year? Depreciation? 20. So be sure and write that. Debit depreciation expense. That's the year it asks for, right? And credit accumulated depreciation. That's exactly the same thing that we did in 2010 and 2011, right? That's how we got the 60,000 in here. True? But it's 20 in 3 times. Make the journal entry for 2012. What would that be? Now that's one of the new years down here, right? 37,500. Debit what? Depreciation expense. And credit? Accumulated depreciation. Not too bad? Once you know how to do depreciation, it's just not a big deal. We could extend the life and make depreciation last too, right? We'd increase the salvage value. It doesn't have to make it more. Okay? You think it's going to last longer. You're just changing your estimate of what's going to happen. Okay, number 5. Max Corp purchased a parcel of land for $1.2 million, paid transfer fees of $50, graded the land at cost of $250, paid $210 for a parking lot, $60 for security fences on demand. Over the next 2 years, Max Corp excavated and poured a foundation for the warehouse that cost $200,000 and constructed a warehouse for $4.3 million, including $300,000 for the design plan. So the 300 doesn't matter because it's already included in 4.3, right? Don't have it. Additionally, they incurred $250 of interest costs during the construction period. Okay, so I want to know what's land. So what I would do is just list them. Land, improving the land. Land improvements don't last forever, land does. Okay? And building, of course, does not last forever. but land improvements last less time usually. Well, I don't know. Sometimes they last longer than the building, but usually less than the building, depending what they are. Okay? So, let's see. They bought the land for $1.2 million. What do you think that's part of? That's land, isn't it? Land is land. That's easy. Transfer fees of $50,000? $1,200,000. 50,000 transfer fees? That's part of the land. One of the costs of getting it was paying to get a title transferred to me, right? So that's another 50,000. And then they graded the land for $250,000. Now this is hard. Is that a land improvement or is it land? Is it ever going to get ungraded? You leveled it off, graded it with a grader, right? Took in construction equipment and you leveled it off to build a building on it. You ever going to put it back the way it was? No, it's not temporary. It's not landscaping that's going to go away or something, right? Okay, it's not a parking lot or something that's going to get used up over time. I think that's part of the land, right? Not a land improvement. It's not going to go away. It's part of the land. Company also paid $210,000 for a parking lot. What's that? That's land improvements, right? I got $210,000 I paid for that land improvement. Is the parking lot going to last forever? No. I'll amortize that. Depreciate it, basically. Okay, there's life. And $60,000 for security fences and lighting. I think that's land improvement too. It's temporary. Okay? Not part, and neither of those are part of the building. True? None of that stuff's part of the building. Okay, over the next 2 years, they excavated and poured a foundation for a warehouse which cost $200,000. That $200,000 getting ready to build the building is the building, right? Excavating means digging out the foundation. Okay? And then what they did was they poured a foundation, concrete, right? Getting ready. Okay? All right? And then they constructed a warehouse for $4.3 million. Wow, that's the warehouse, that's building. So now it's a $4.5 million building. Okay? And then they say including a $300,000 design. Don't add it, it's already in there, right? If they said in addition they paid for a design though, plan, architect's plan, engineering plan, that's part of the building, right? Paying for the architect is obviously part of the building, I guess. Additionally, they incurred $250 in interest costs. Now this is interesting. During the period they build the building, the interest is part of the building. You add it to the building. If I were to buy the building from somebody else, you think they charge me for the interest they paid on the debt while they built the building? Yes, it would be part of the cost of the building. Okay? So that's the rationale. But what about as soon as the building's ready to use, what happens? Now you expense the interest, right? It's interest expense as soon as you start using the building. Okay? Right? Because it's what the cost of now using the building. Okay? All right, and that's everything, isn't it? So guess what? You add them up, you're done. So $1,500,000 is it? 270,000 and 4,750,000, and we're done. Okay? Those are pretty easy, aren't they? And I mean, you could get that out of just reading the chapter pretty much too. Okay, now we get into the other chapter. We're only 10 minutes behind schedule here. Sorry, a couple minutes late. We've already done stuff like this, number 6, haven't we? You guys know how to record borrowing money. Okay, so let's give it a shot. Number 6. Car company borrowed $400,000 at 7%. 1-year note. That's 7% per year, right? This happens to be 1 year. It's dated November 1st, though, and the year ends December 31st. So we're going to have to accrue interest on it. We're not going to pay any interest until it's due, are we? And it's due, oh, C is October 31st. That's when it's due, isn't it? You guys see that? So Part A, November 1st, is when we borrowed the money, right? Of the first year, November 1st, 09, I guess. Okay? What do you get if you borrow $400,000? Cash. Credit. It's got a note, you guys. Give me credit. It's got a note. Notes payable. Remember when this was hard? Those days are behind us. Okay, and then B is December 31st. Okay, I am not paying anything, but how many months went by? Remember, no, not one, it's November 1st. November plus December, be careful. October 31st and November 1st would both be 2 months. Good. All right, so I got 2 months. So what do I want to do? I want to accrue 2 months interest on it. 2 months went by, do I owe them more interest? Of course I do, right? So I want to record it in the period that I incurred the interest cost, right? Because I'm using the money in 2009. So I want to record the interest in 2009. I got to figure out how much interest I owe them. And that's going to be my interest what? What I owe them is called interest. Well, payables is what I owe them. Interest expense is what I used up. So because I have interest expense and I didn't pay it, I have interest payable. So it's kind of volatile. How do you increase expenses? Debit, and this is interest expense. How do you increase payables? Credit, and this is interest payable, and this is too easy. It's coming back. So 400,000 times what? You got it. That would be for a full year, though, wouldn't it? And how much time went by? Yeah, 2/12 of that. This is too easy. How much interest is that? 400,000 and 7% looks like it's 280, is it? Divided by 12 times 2. So 1/6 of I'm sorry, 28,000, not 280. 28,000, 7%, right? So what's 1/6 of 28,000? 4,667, something like that. Okay, cool.
In these cases, do you want us to drown in nearest dollar?
Yeah, that's fine. Or if you do it pennies, I don't care. Doesn't make a difference. Okay. In real life, we do pennies. Yeah, right. So yeah, we use pennies. Then what happens? In C, it says, oh, it's October 31st, 2010. How much time has gone by? How much time went by, you guys? A whole year now. So we're going to pay the whole thing off, right? It's due. What are you going to pay it with? Cash. What are you paying off? Note payable. What else are you going to pay? The interest, which is going to be paying off what? The 2 months interest payable we just recorded gets paid off, doesn't it? Pay the note, you're going to pay the interest payable. But then there's the next 10 months interest. What's that going to be called? Because it's in 2010. Interest expense, just like that. Remember we've done things like this? Only now it probably looks a lot simpler. Okay? So what do we got? 400,000 times what? For a whole year, what would it be? We said that was 28,000, didn't we? Yeah. So how much cash are you going to give them, seeing as you're paying off a note of 400,000, and you're giving 28 interest? I think 428. Good. See, when you get past trying to remember and you just let yourself think, it's kind of, oh yeah, big deal. That's what's happening. Okay, how much note payable did I pay off? It's the whole 400, right?
Why would you have two different? Why wouldn't you just put it all under like one interest?
Oh, because I'm paying off this payable that's recorded, right? And that's last year's interest. So I'm paying off that accrued liability. That's an accrued liability, right? Okay. So I'm paying that off, and then the interest for this year is the interest expense for 10 months. So the interest payable is going to be this 2 months here, 4,667. So what's the interest expense got to be? 28,000 less 28,000 here, less 4,667 here. What is it? 23? 333. And let's make sure that's the right number. 400,000 times 7% was a year, right? Which was 28,000. But how many months is in the new year? In 2010? 10/12. So it's 28,000 times 10/12, isn't it? So what's 5/6 of 28,000? It's going to be a miracle. It is, isn't it? And that's the interest expense for this year. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
I want this year's in expense this year. I want last year's in expense last year.
So because you're recording about this expense, you have to show that you're paying it off. You just put it.
You got it. Yeah, I don't want to show the expense again, right? Or I'd be overstating my expense. And I'd end up with too much expense, too little income, too little equity, and I'd have too much liabilities because I didn't get rid of the liability. Sure? That'd be my misstatement in my financial statement. So it should be kind of a cool question to ask you, wouldn't it? Yeah, I know, like that. Okay. 7, these we've kind of seen before too, but it's more accounts. The following data were provided from the detailed payroll records of Mountain Corporation for the month of March. So here's compensation, that's the gross pay. We always say gross pay. Have you ever noticed when you get a paycheck that they don't pay you all the money you earned?
Yeah.
You get the net pay, they take the taxes out. Yeah, we all know that, right? Yeah, mine works out to I get about maybe, I don't know, 60% maybe of what I make that they pay me. The rest just disappears, right? So it's okay. I like having roads, and I think it's fine to feed poor people. I think we ought to do that. Provide health care, all that stuff. But yeah, still painful. Anyway, yeah. So, really funny last night, speaking of crime, police protection. This neighbor lady of ours came over and pounded, and we're just sitting there, and the blinds are closed, and we don't even see the door. Somebody who knows us, they'll call, And so, yeah, it's not real late, but it was, anyway, so this woman was pounding on the door, and then, and we'd seen her coming down the street, which was like a blind girl. We thought she was selling stuff. She's got her daughter with her, and it's Girl Scout cookies again. Yeah, and so, but whatever. And so right before this politician comes, it's probably, season. So he leaves his stuff. He just puts it, we have a little slot door he slides through. She doesn't slide the stuff through the door or anything. She just keeps pounding. Then she goes around back and starts pounding. And then we'll finally open the door. I'm like, what the hell? She's looking in the windows too, by the way, trying to look around. You can see, what are you doing? So we open it. Oh, I'm your neighbor. And I work at Bellarmine too. And I go, oh, that's nice. Good for you. Because she saw the stickers on my cars, right? I work at Bellarmine. She's a nuts lady. She lives 4 houses up from us. She wants to put a speed bump in the middle of the street. It's up by Atherton. In the morning for about half an hour, the traffic is unbelievable going into Atherton High School. And in the afternoon, how getting in and out of the parking lot's really something, huh? Yep. Well, anyway, so I live down towards Bardstown. Okay. A block, not even a block, right? So I'm not quite a block, the full block. I'm right before the stop sign. Anyway, she wants to put a speed bump out in the street. I'm like, you don't want a speed bump in that street. The traffic can't move already, and all these kids are going to be going airborne when they're leaving school anyway. So I think she wants her kids to be able to play in the street, so she wants speed bumps. So she's got this petition we're all supposed to sign. Actually, it's a vote. Each one of us had a sheet. So I checked mine all right. No, it would be more dangerous. It would slow traffic down. A better idea would be not to let anybody park on the street. I know she always parks on the street, so I wrote on mine. Better idea, why don't we put up no parking signs and have nobody park on the street? Because, there'd be less congestion, it'd be safer, right? It would be much safer. It's stupid parking on the street. We don't even have school zone signs or anything.
Not over there.
Yeah, it's a high school. Who cares about high school kids? Right. They're too old. They're not cute and cuddly anymore. Yeah, so that's right. Those are only in grade school. So anyway. So, yeah, I thought it was funny. So, where are we at? 7? Wages. Yeah, they do take taxes out. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's the real rub. They put in these speed bumps for free if they decide to do it, but if you ever want to have them removed, you have to collect the money from all the neighborhood and take it out. No! If they do put it in, I want you to sign an affidavit that says they'll pay my share of getting rid of it, right? If they ever have to get rid of it, I don't want it there. I don't care. I'll go airborne. It might be odd. It'll be fun.
School buses coming through there.
I imagine that. Well, the city bus drives down the street, too. I can just see that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They're the ones that speed and are kind of dangerous. Yeah, but, they're nice people, though. I was waiting to. All right, anyway. So the compensation, the gross amount is $35. What do you think your salary expense is? It's the $35. You're right, because the company pays the whole thing out. Income tax withheld, what's that? That's the deduction from your paycheck. But it's your money. It belongs to the employee. So what is it to the company? Payable to the federal government. They better pay that one, right? If you're stealing from your employees and you're stealing from the federal government if you do not send that in. If you ever have your own business and you have employees, no matter how broke you get and you're running out of money and you're in trouble, you always pay your employees or it's theft. And you always pay the government or it's theft. And you get to go to jail for that. So don't pay other people. You're not gonna, I've never been in that position, but if you have to, don't pay your own salary. That's okay. You can do that. So anyway, and there's union dues. That's withheld too. And then there's Social Security taxes, FICA taxes, right? And remember, the employee pays half and the employer pays half. It's really more than 7.65. Yeah, that's Social Security.
It says that.
You know, it doesn't say that. It does in the book. Yeah.
Employee can reach the maximum.
So yeah, no employee has reached the maximum, which means they have to all pay. If you're over the maximum, which is, and it's well over $100,000 now. But if you're over it, you don't have to pay it anymore, and neither does your employer. Okay? But obviously, you're paying a lot of other taxes in that income bracket. I don't know what the number is anymore. I don't keep track of it. So anyway, they keep raising it, of course. So, and raise the rate a little bit. So let's record the payroll. How much are they going to pay them? Gross pay, that's the first thing you got to do. What's the gross pay? 35. How much do they deduct? Federal income tax withheld? How much? 7,350. FICA tax. Now this is the employer's share, right? So the FICA withheld, the employee's share. FICA withheld. How much is that? It's 35,000 times what? 0.0765. You can do this, can't you? Or whatever the rate is that I give you on a more recent quiz. At that time, that's probably the rate. So 7.65% times 35,000 is how much? 2677. Okay, that's it. And remember, the employer is going to have that share too, right? So that's going to be a tax expense for the employer. Okay, and then the union dues, union withheld. Right? This is for the employee. You take their union dues out, then you give it to the union. So now you owe it to the union, right? And you owe the federal income tax withheld and the FICA withheld to the federal government. Okay, that's how it works. And then, by the way, state taxes do the same thing. Local taxes do the same thing. If you're working in Louisville, we have high taxes here, right? But we have really nice parks too. We do, no, they're just gorgeous. Right? So, and they pick up the trash, and they, you know, all that stuff's included. So, what's that? Potholes are bad, yeah. Every year, and all the freezing and you know those chemicals we put on the roads so that we can drive, they just destroy the roads and the environment too. But oh well, yeah. At least we can drive. Use 175. Okay, with help. So what's the net pay? This is going to be the cash we give them, right? Want to compute that for me? 35 less 7,350 less 2,677 less 175. Yeah, that's what we're going to pay our employees. Got it? Okay, that's going to be what? Cash if I pay it right away, but you're not going to do that. What is it going to be? Salary I haven't paid yet is going to be called salaries payable. Yeah, and then later when I pay it, I'll debit salaries payable and credit cash. Okay, so let's do the first journal entry. Let's record the payroll. Okay. What is this going to be? These are salaries, are they? Do they even say? Wages. Okay, so it's wage expense, or wages and salaries expense, or salaries and wages expense. Why is it an expense? Because they did the work for me this accounting period, right, guys? So you already knew that. And then what are you going to credit? Salaries payable. How much? Or accrued salaries, you could call it if you want. It's an accrual, right? 24,808, is that right? That's how much we're going to pay them. We got those two. And then what? You could go FIT payable, federal income tax withheld payable. How much? 7,350. Some people would put these all in one account because you really you do one report and write one check to the federal government for it, okay? And then FICA payable, you like that? How much is it? This is too easy. Union dues payable. It's payable to union, right? So we're recording it, 175. This is too easy. That journal entry balance? Yes. We're done. Okay? Now when I pay it, what will it be? For any of these, it didn't ask for that, but what if I pay them? How about debit salaries payable and credit cash? How about debit income tax payable, or FICA and federal income tax withheld payable and credit cash? How about debit union dues payable and credit cash? They're payables. You pay them. Okay.
What
anyway.
did you just write there? What journal entry is that? Is that
Oh, this is recording the payroll.
Okay.
And the one I just suggested is paying the payables, okay, right? I didn't ask you to do the pay the payables, but you could, couldn't you?
Yeah.
It's easy. All right. B, what do we got for B, guys? Keep calling 3 women and 4 women guys. God, Dallas sounds horrible, doesn't it? No? That sounds kind of, yeah, I don't know. Women have become men, I guess. That's what women's lib was about, right? Women's liberation was who became men. No. Equal rights. Okay. So what do we got here? On B. Oh, the FICA payroll tax expense. What's our share? That's going to be more FICA payable. So really, when I send it to the government, I'm going to give them the employee's share of taxes, and I'm going to give them my share too. Got it? So how much is that? I exactly match the employees. So whatever is taken out of your paycheck for Social Security, which is a fair amount of money, if you make very much money, your employer matches. Okay? And that's going into, it's just taxes to fund Social Security, really. Okay? So it's just another tax. It's not a retirement plan. Nobody's putting money aside for your retirement. Where did we spend the money, by the way, that was put into Social Security all these years? One is paying retirement fees, right? That's one. The other one is we financed our wars with it. And we never paid ourselves back because nobody wants to pay taxes. So we pay taxes in the future instead of current, right? So we always talk about, are we going to burden our children with tax obligations? Yes. In this state, the pension plan is woefully underfunded. Our current governor wants to put money into the pension plan, which is wonderful. We have to do it. It has way too little money. Millions behind. So, anyway, so he started putting money in, but he's taking it away from other things. Schools, public service programs. We really need to do both. How can you do both? You could borrow it, and you have to repay that out of future taxes. Or, besides we're paying off the debt in the pension fund, will you borrow to pay off the pension debt? Maybe, I don't know, right? Which is borrowing to pay one bill without incurring another. So what's the real alternative? Either don't provide services, don't provide pensions, or raise taxes. And that's a horrible thing, right? Raising taxes. We should have taxes. Well, actually, we lowered taxes a whole bunch as a society. I used to be in the 70% tax bracket, you guys, when I made the most money I ever made. Now the highest is 35. What do you think? We've been raising taxes or lowering them? Since the 1980s, we've been lowering. Not keeping them steady, not raising them, lowering. So that's why we're broke. Not really, but. And we're making all of our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and their children pay for what we consume now, right? Sounds okay to me. You guys can pay instead of me, huh? You're next. Yeah, I like it. Okay, anyway, so, not really, I think it's wrong. Okay. You know what? When I went to college, it was almost free.
Wow.
And in 1 year, when I made the most money I ever made, I paid for my college education several times in my taxes. Was it a good investment? You're thinking no, because you would never be sitting here listening to me if I never got an education, right? Yeah, it'd be better. Okay, anyway. So what we're going to debit, you guys, it's our tax expense. What do you want to call it? How about tax expense? Probably payroll tax expense. Big deal. Okay, we can do this. Got it?
So you don't divide that by 2 because you said that your employer pays half and your employee.
No, we each pay about 8%.
Oh.
Yeah, the rate is that's a great question. The rate is 7.65, but we both pay that. So the tax is really at that time about 15, now about 18%. Good, great question. That's a really good question. That's it, guys. Okay. And when we pay it, we probably pay all 3 of these together, don't you suppose? I'd just write one check to the federal government for 7 plus 5, I guess, 12,000, 13,000 bucks, right? Credit, cash, and debit those payables. It's getting really easy to talk to you guys. Have you noticed that? I had to work really, really hard when we started this class. We're not even halfway through, and what's happening? You guys are learning. Right? You're getting the language. You're going to be business people. Fantastic. Good. Good for you. All right, let's do some fun present values. They're always fun. These aren't too bad, I don't think. take intermediate accounting, I promise I'll give you some that are challenging. Okay, yeah. The average score on a 25-point quiz was 10. There was a 4, a couple 5s. The high was a 16. Right? They're easy. Yeah, not really. Yeah. They look just like these. Little twists, I guess. Company A deposited $20,000 in a savings account January 1st, 2009 that will accumulate 6% interest each December 31st. What will be the balance in the fund at December 31st, 2013? How many years is that? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. To 5. Okay? 5 years. You got to know that. N equals 5. What's the interest rate? 6%. I wrote this down in class. Is all I got done today. That's it, isn't it? This is what we care about. It wants to know what the fund balance is going to be in the future. What's that going to be? That's a future value. It's asking for a future value 5 periods from now, huh? That's what we're looking for. So it's pretty easy to tell what the problem's asking for, right? It says, what will the fund balance be in the future? Okay, and then what is the $20,000? It's right now, you guys. What do you think it is? It's the present value. That's all there is to it. Now, so the way I'd set this up is I'd say, all right, I know the present value at time 0 is $20,000. And we're going to do more of these in class today or tomorrow. Right? This times 1 over 1 plus the interest rate. What I'm doing is I'm dividing 1 plus the interest rate into the 20,000 over and over. When I do a present value, I am, wait, but this is a future value. Come on, Keith. Already screwing it up. Very first one. I'm doing the future. It's going to be 1 plus the interest rate. So this times 1 plus the interest rate. And this all looks like mathematical notation, but it's really going to make sense. Raised to the number of periods is going to give me the future value, that number of periods from now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add 6% interest the first year, and then I'm going to take the amount that I invested plus the 6% I earned, and I'm going to add 6% of that to it. It's compound interest. So maybe we'll do that first. This is going to be 1.06, 1 plus the 6% interest, right guys? Compounded 5 times. Okay? That's what it's going to be. But think about it this way. You don't have to write this down, but just to think about it. If I start with 20,000 and I invested it for 1 year, so this is a present value at time 0, would you want your money back at the end of the year if you invested it? Of course, you want your 20, right? And if you're going to earn 6% interest, don't you want the 20 plus 6% interest? Of course you would. Times 1.06. You see that? What's 20,000 times 1.06?
26,764.
26? That's too much. 1.06, not 1.6, 1.06. 21,200, that sounds better. The interest would only be 1,200. Got to get a 0 in there. 20 times 1.06. Got it? Okay, that looked too much, didn't it? This is a future value 1 period from now. So what I've done is I took the present value times 1 plus the interest rate for the 1 period, right? That's all we're doing. So what? The notation, don't let it bother you. It's no big deal. Okay? Then, but I want to know at the end of 5 years. So what would I have to do? Now I will leave that 21.2 invested, won't I? I'm not taking out the interest. Got it, guys? It's compound interest. I'm going to get interest on the interest. Simple interest is I take the interest out, right? I only earn the 1,200 each time, right? Compound is I leave it in and it keeps growing. So what would you do the second year? Take it times 1.06, wouldn't you? And where would that give me? That'd give me a future value 2 periods from now. Getting the idea? So all this is going to do for us. So what's 21.2 times 1.06? And you're not going to do it this way in a quiz or a test. I'm just showing you what's happening. 22,472. So that would be the future value. Here's the way we'd say this. The present value is 20,000. The interest rate is 6%. What is the future value compounded for 2 periods? This is 2 periods, right? It's 2 periods out. So n would be 2. And that's what I'd have, wouldn't I? Let's do 3 years. Take it times 1.06, right? Because I'd leave that invested, wouldn't I? And I'll have my future value 3 years from now. How much is that? This is going to be silly. See how it would be.
23,820.
23,820. Let's do another one, because I want 5 years, so now I'm going to future value 4 periods from now, okay? So what's that going to be? Times 1.06. 1 plus the interest rate. What do you get? 249. Okay. We got to do one more. No. To get a future value 5 periods from now. So how much is that?
26,761.
Okay, now, think back to your algebra, guys. What could we do instead? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Couldn't we just take 20,000 times 1.06 raised to the 5th? 1.06 times 1.06 times 1.06. Yeah, 6 times, right? You could do that, and that'll give you what? 26, 7, 64. Oh, that's all this formula's doing. 1 plus the interest rate raised to the number of periods. 1 plus the interest rate raised to the number of periods. You guys see it? Okay, now, in your book, there's a table where they do it for you. First, with your calculator, take 1.06 and raise it to the 5th for me and tell me what that number is.
1.33.
1.331?
338.
Oh, 338. Okay. 1.338. Okay? What's worth $1.34? $1 invested for 5 periods at 6% interest. $1 will grow to $1.34. So the future value is $1.34 of each dollar. But you're going to have 20,000, so you'll take 20,000 times $1.34. Make sense? That's it. Now take a look in your book. Where are the present value tables, or future value tables in this case? They're at the end of the chapter, maybe. At the end of the book in this book, everything in the book. Appendix A, Appendix B, B, Appendix A. There you go. All right. Now we're doing the future value. The first table there's the present value, right? We're doing a future value. So you go to table A4, page A4. It's page A3, table A4. That's weird. That's an annuity line. Table A3, the bottom of page A2. I don't know why this is numbered the way it is. Do you see table A3 there, everybody? There's future value, right? It's appendix A following about page 688. Following page 688. Okay? Everybody see table A3? Future value of $1. Go to, what do we have, 5 periods? Go down to 5 periods and go across to 6% and look what the factor is. Oh my, where did they get that factor? They computed it in that formula. Got it? So the table does it for you. Are you welcome to use the tables? Absolutely. And the nice thing about the tables is you can see the growth, right? Look at a 25% column. What does it grow to?
6%.
No, look at 25%. Look at the 25% column.
All right, after 5 periods.
Yeah, 25% column. What does it grow to after 5 periods?
Over 3%.
Well, no, that's $3. $1 becomes $3.80.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Got it? $3.05. Well, that's if you don't earn 25%, do you?
No.
What if you only earn 2%? What do you have? That's the lowest they go. $1.08. Right? Get the idea? More, of course, there's more risk with more interest. Right? You get a higher rate of return with more risk. So if you're willing to take a risk, you might do real well. Risk means there's a risk of losing money. Okay, so beware of it. If somebody says, "Oh, I can get you 25% interest," it's kind of like, really? Yeah. How much risk am I taking for that? Yeah. Is it legal? You know, things like that. Okay. So, all right. Anyway, so what would we say our future value is here? If I went and looked up that factor, I'd have the same factor, wouldn't I? Ah, as if I calculated it. So you can calculate it, or you can use the tables, or you can use a fancy calculator. If you got a nice one, right? Yours, not yours, yours probably. Do you have present values and future values in there? Did you calculate? Yeah. Financial function?
I don't have no idea.
Okay, go out online, because you don't have the book anymore, do you? That book, yeah, nah, it's gone. Okay, go out online, look up your model, and see if it has future values and present values. Okay? Yours won't,
I
right?
haven't like cut my graphing calculator app on my phone.
Oh, I bet. Well, yeah, it does. Sure it does. Okay? Right? And Excel, of course, does. Right? So you can use those, or you can just use these tables. For the problems we do in here, the tables are fine. All right? And besides with the tables, you can sort of see it happening. Like I was telling you there, look at what 25% interest looks like compared to 1%, right? The interest rate makes a huge difference. Compounding interest. So the answer to this is how much, guys? 26,764. So that's what you do for me. Okay? No big deal. How much interest will they earn? Oh, come on. We invest 20,000. Now we have 26,764. Can you tell me how much interest you would have earned? If you can calculate it, you got it made, don't you? How much interest did you earn? That's the 20,000. Now you have 26,764. 6,764. That's just testing. Do you know what you're doing? Or you're just calculating. Okay? Make sense? That's pretty easy, huh? So that's the first two. Let's try B. Company B needs to accumulate $50,000 in a fund by making 5 equal annual deposits. This is called an annuity. So what we've got is the number of periods, the interest rate, maybe a present value, maybe a future value. You don't have to do both of these problems. And you've got an annuity payment. Okay? Now there's two types of annuities. One is the payment comes at the beginning of the every period. The other one is the payment comes at the end. Luckily in this class, everything's at the end. They're called ordinary annuities. So it's an ordinary annuity payment. I guess ordinarily payments are at the end or something. Annuity due is easy to remember though because the payments due at the beginning. So later when you're doing finance or if you do accounting 211, right? Accounting you guys into that class will be doing this. Okay? We use them a lot. Accounting and finance. Okay, anyway, so what I want to know is this. Isn't that right? It says they need to accumulate 50,000 in it by making 5 equal payments. What's in, everybody? These are the equal payments. Oh, by the way, for it to be an annuity, the interest rate must stay the same, and there must be exactly the same payment every period. No period skipped. We always say no period skipped, but I'm not sure why. Because if a period was skipped, wouldn't it be 0? It's not the same thing, but anyway, we did. So there's a payment every period. It's exactly the same payment, and you assume the interest rate does not change. Or written into the contract, it does not change. Got it? Okay. So what do we say here? We've got 5 periods. What's that? In. Okay. And then it says they want to accumulate 50. What's that going to be?
Future.
Yeah, you got it. The future value 5 years from now. Do we know the present value? No, but I don't think they want to know that. They don't care. We want to know what the payment is, right? So we don't have to worry about the present value. We could get the present value of this if we were taking the money out. Got it? Say we're putting money in. Okay. Right. Okay. And what's the interest rate? So always that's what you're doing. Now this time when you're doing an annuity, what I would do is I'd say, this is what I do. The author does it slightly different. It doesn't matter. It's the same result. They like to divide, I like to multiply, I guess. Ordinary annuity payment, whatever it is, that amount, which is what we're looking for, right? Times a factor is going to give me a future value. And the future value I want is 5 periods from now, right guys? And I'd say this is an interest rate of 7%. The number of periods is 5. Okay? This will sort of come back from your math classes maybe. Okay? And there's a formula for this, but you don't have to memorize it. What it is the summation of a future value of a sum table. Okay? We're adding them up. Because one payment comes at the end of 1 year, first one. Second payment at the end of 2 years, the third one at the end of 3, then 4, then 5. Got it? Okay? So I look up the factor for 7%, 5 periods. Oh, and I'm calculating a future value, you guys. So guess which table you'd be on? It's the future value of an annuity. Let's go to the future value of an annuity table. Sound good? What if I was going to calculate its present value? What table would I use? Present value of an annuity table. Make sense? So take a look at 7%, 5 periods on the future value of an ordinary annuity table.
So it's like annulment times I plus N equals future value.
Well, it's going to be whatever the factor is for the interest rate and for the number of periods when we get the factor.
Oh, okay.
This payment times that is going to be the future value.
Oh,
And we
okay.
know the future value.
Okay.
Okay? So what I can do, I probably should have done that first. What I can do is I can put that 50,000 that I know in here. So I'm writing down everything I know. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I got my 50,000 here, I got my 7% and my 5. Now I'm going to use a table. Now, if you have a nice calculator, yours. If you have a really nice calculator, hers it looks like, you can input that the future value is 5. The number of periods, or 50,000. Future value is 50,000. The number of periods is 5. The interest rate is 7. And ask it to tell you what the payment is. Oh, and you have to tell it that the payment is at the end of the year. Right? If you do that in your calculator, it'll give you the answer. But that's dangerous because you can't see what's happening. So if you put the wrong stuff in the calculator, guess what it'll do? Give you the wrong answer every time you encounter. If you use these tables, you'll probably get it right. And then over time, you get to don't use the tables because it takes a while. Calculators. But you got to know what it's doing. If you don't input garbage, output garbage. I know that, right? So what is the factor? What this really is 5 factors added up. This is 5 years, right? 5 factors added up. So present value for 1 year, or future value, sorry, for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Right? Periods. 5 years after periods. So what rate were we doing? 7%. Okay, this is the future value of an annuity of $1, right? And we're making the deposits at the end of the year, right? So the first one's only $1. If it was an annuity for 1 period, $1 would be worth $1 if you don't add anything into
So
it.
then you do 50 times the 5.7.
Yes, yes, ma'am. You want 5 though, wasn't it 5 years?
Yeah.
Go to 5. So what's the factor? What is 5.7? 5, isn't it? 5.75. What's worth $5.75? 5 is $1 a year for 5 years.
Oh.
Right? I'm putting in $1 a year for 5 years. So that $5 will grow to what? It's only 7%. So it'll grow to $5.75. So each $5 payment stream is going to grow to $5.75. Is that working? So I got 5, 7, 5. What's the rest of it? 05. Okay. So each one of those $5 payment streams, this is going to be 5 payments. Okay? Getting this intuitively is kind of hard, but you really need to, or this will just go away later, right? Get your head around it, like everything else we're doing, right? If you really understand it, you'll keep it. If you just sort of know it, you get answers right, and go on with your life and not know what you're doing. So let's not do that. All right, anyway, what do you think the payment has to be? Some payment times $5.75 equals $50,000. How much do you need to make the payment be? How much do you have to deposit every year? Divide $5.75 into 55,000, you got it. 5.7505 divided in. How much is the payment?
8694.
In pennies, probably.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And 90 cents? Yeah. That's it, you guys. By the way, if I didn't know the future value and I didn't know the payment, could I take the payment times that factor and get the future value? Yes. Could I do a present value too if I want? Sure. Look up the factor for a present value instead of a future value and take it times the payment and you're there. Got it? Pretty nice, huh? And we'll do more of these in class, okay? Just try to do something, okay? This is backwards. We should have done the class first and then this. Fridays are really good date and time reviews and things. Besides, I'm getting on a plane Saturday morning to go see my granddaughter. There are other people out there too, but I don't care. My son, my daughter-in-law, my dad, my brother, my sister. It'd be nice to see them, I suppose, too. Let's see. On C, Company C has a new machine with an estimated life of 5 years. What's in? 5. Okay, and it's gonna have a residual value of $5,000. Residual value, oh, that's the salvage residual value, isn't it? When am I gonna get it? I'm selling the asset in 5 years, aren't I? I think that's a future value when? 5 years from now. You guys agree with that? In years, 5 years, it's $5,000. That's the future value. Assuming an 8% interest rate. That's its present value. Set them up like this, and you'll really appreciate that you did. Because now I know exactly what I'm calculating, and I know exactly what I'm going to use to calculate. So in this situation, I know the future value, 5 periods from now, is $5,000. You've done this in Q classes, haven't you? Somewhere along the line? No. In a math class in high school?
Yeah, we did.
You did? Where'd you go?
Atherton.
Atherton. You just said that. Yeah. But did you do this in high school or junior high? In calculus they did it?
Yeah.
Maybe. It's not calculus.
I'm not sure if we did it that year or not.
Yeah. You guys didn't do this? Oh, well, we're doing something new. When you do it again in Accounting 102, if you get it down really well here, it's going to be a breeze. Okay? Plus the teacher for Accounting 102 is not as mean as me. Not as hard. Right? She actually is a very nice person. Okay, so anyway, 5,000. And then if you come back into 211, I'll be easy again. Okay? Take a lot away. So anyway, what are we going to do with this? I want to calculate a present value. This time it's divided. I want to know a present value. That's what it's worth now, right? That's how much I would invest to get, or I'm sorry, how much it's worth now. I'd invest now to get 5,000. 5 periods from now, discounted 8%. Put 1 over it. You're dividing, okay? 1 over, actually it's 1 over 1 plus the interest rate raised to the number of periods. That's what the formula says, huh? It's 1 over 1.08 raised to the 5th, is it? Or you can just look up the present value of a sum factor. Okay? For 5 periods, 8%. So which table's that? Present value of a sum. That's table A2, is it? And we want, what was the interest rate? 8%? I guess it's on the first page, isn't it? 8%, 5 periods. Whoops, here we go. I'm the wrong. Present value, it's table A1. It is on the first page. Table A1. We want, this is of $1, right? It's not an annuity. It's just $1. 5 periods at 8%, how much is that?
6806.
Yeah, 0.6806. So if you put in your calculator 1 over 1.08 raised to the 5th, what would you get? 0.6806. That's how they got the factor in the tables. And then in class, we'll go over how they got the annuity table. They're just adding up factors from a number of years. Okay?
Wait, so is this annuity or no?
No, this is a sum. Present value of a sum.
Right.
It's the very first table, right? It's how much I would invest now to receive $1 5 periods from now, discounted at 8%. Make sense, guys? So each dollar is only worth 68 cents. So what's the 5,000 worth? 68 cents each. 0.6806 times 5,000. That's what it's worth right now. How much is that?
3,403.
If I invest 3,403 right now at 8% interest for 5 periods compounded, it'll grow to 5,000. Okay? I should have done one other thing back here. I should have said what the total payments is. Because it looks like 8,694 is 50,000. No, it's not. What's 8,694.90 times 5? This was on the annuity, right? 8,694.9 times 5 payments. What do you get? 43,000. 471? 7. Okay, how much interest do you earn here? This is how much you deposit, right? 43,000, almost 500. This is how much it's worth at the end. How much interest did you earn? You got it. Everybody agree? That's what happened. Okay. D. Company D owes a $50,000 debt that is due now, January 1st, 2011. What would you call that? It's due now. It's what it's worth now. Give me a name for the value of something now. It's what? Present value. Okay. That's it. Okay. Arrangements have been made to pay it off in 5 equal annual installments. What's in? 5. They're equal payments. What's that called? Ordinary annuity payment, right? They're going to be at the end of the year, okay? 5 installments due, yeah, January 1st is now what today's date, and they're due starting December 31st. And they say an ordinary annuity situation even, right? Okay? So I don't know where I got this problem. Probably from an intermediate book or something. Okay? Ordinary annuity payment. And they want to know, assuming 8% interest, okay, interest is 8%. I don't care about the future value. I got the present value, don't I? They want to know, assuming 8%, how much will the payment be? All right, I got it made. The way I like to set them up, just my personal preference, is I like to take the ordinary annuity payment first. So I always set them up the same way and solve for whatever I don't know. Okay? You can do whatever you want. You can divide instead if you want. Some ordinary annuity payment times the factor. And this time, what do I know? I know the present value. Right? What's the present value? 50,000. So what kind of a factor is this going to be? To take this payment times it to get the 50,000 would be what? Present value of an ordinary annuity. And wasn't the other one a future value? Right? Yeah. So you got to know which one you're working on. Okay. So this time we're taking interest out instead of adding interest. When you calculate a present value, you're sucking the interest out. When you calculate a future value, you're adding interest. That's all it is. Okay? So what's my interest rate? 8%. What's my number of periods? 5. Go to the table for a present value of an ordinary annuity. Find that one. And you want to find 8% interest. There? Yeah. And then go down to 5 periods, I guess it is. What's that factor? 9927?
Yes.
What's worth $3.99? $5 is. Received $1, right? At the end of each period for 5 periods. You guys with me? That's what it's worth now. So I'm going to get $5 back and I'll pay $3.99 for it. How much interest would I earn? $1.01 out of the 5, right guys? So all you got to do is divide the 3.9927 into the 50,000 and you know what the payments would be. How much is that? Yeah. Got it. And that's that number right there. Okay? We got our answer, don't we? Everybody good? But remember, that's 5 payments. So what's the total here? 12, 5, 22, 85 times 5.
If we take that $12,
Yeah, because that's the annual payment, right?
62,600.
Wait a minute. I invest 50,000 and I get back 62,614. You bet you do, right? Because I'm going to earn interest.
So that's the total answer then.
Well, the 12,552 is
Okay,
because it asked for what the payment was. It didn't ask for what the total was. Yeah. So 12,522.85 would be the answer.
Now how did you get the 12 again?
You know where I got the 50, right?
Yep.
Present value. You know where I got the 3.99? Okay, that's 8%, 5 periods, present value, ordinary annuity. I just divided it in there.
Okay, cool.
So some number times 399 is 50,000. How do you get the number? Divide it into your factor. That look good? Okay, and then give the entry for D above for the first payment on December 31st, 2009 on the notes payable. Assume that no adjusting entries have been made, and that one is really, really hard. Okay? So that was fun. So what's the payment going to be? $12,523, isn't it? So you get this part of it, maybe. How much are you going to pay on the note payable? Cash, $12,522.85. Each payment's going to be that. That's credit. Debit the note payable, but I also have to debit something else. What is it? Interest what? Expense. Okay? So I'm going to reduce my note payable, but I'm also going to have interest expense. Right? So what will I do with that? My note payable is $50,000. Right? That's the note. Okay? How much am I reducing it? How much interest do I have? Well, I owe them $50,000, you guys, so this isn't too bad. $50,000 at what interest rate? 8%. If you discounted 8, you better compound at 8. How much is the interest? 4,000? No. It's only hard because it's kind of foreign to you. Calculating is no big deal, huh? Here's the payment. Here's what the interest is. What's the rest, of course? Paying down the note. 522.85. Are we happy? We're out of time. I got stuff I got to do. We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4. Remind me, we'll do these in class, okay? Do some other stuff. Whatever you guys work on. The sooner you do this, the better you know it, isn't it right? And I know you have nothing else you have to do, so only work on my class. Get